Did you know one minion basically saved the entire cast of Minions and Monsters and got zero credit for it? And stick around, because by the end of this list, we're getting into a theory that suggests the Minions might already know exactly how human civilization ends. 10 details from the Minions universe most fans completely overlooked. Let's get into it. Number 1. The Minion who did all the work and got nothing for it. Minions and Monsters follows a brand new trio, led by an aspiring filmmaker named James, who dreams of making the biggest monster movie in history. He unleashes a horde of monsters using an ancient artifact to use as movie material, only to realize they're actually planning to destroy the planet. James, alongside his fellow Minions and a new ally named Dork, team up to stop them, and that real chaos ends up getting filmed and released as James's monster movie, becoming a massive Hollywood hit. James even wins an Oscar for it, and both he and his best friend Henry get statues honoring them inside a museum. Except here's the problem. The Minion who actually filmed the entire thing was Ed. When James drops his camera in the middle of the crisis, it's Ed who picks it up and captures the whole story from start to finish. Ed is the reason the film exists at all, yet he's the only one of the three who never gets a statue. That Oscar for filmmaking should have gone to him, not James. The most he gets is a small producer credit buried at the very end. Number 2. Minions and Monsters might quietly break established Minion lore. According to the timeline set up in the original films, Minions have existed for millions of years, always sticking together while serving whichever villain happens to be the most evil at the time. Dinosaurs, cavemen, pharaohs, even Napoleon. After Napoleon's downfall around 1812, the Minions retreat into an ice cave and stay hidden there for over a century and a half, until Kevin, Stuart, and Bob finally leave in the 1960s to find a new master. So here's the issue. Minions and Monsters is set in 1920s Hollywood, and it introduces a completely separate group, Henry, James, and Ed, who are clearly out in the world decades before that ice cave era even ends. If every Minion was supposedly hiding together during that stretch, how are these three running loose in Hollywood at the same time? Unless a future film explains that some kind of disaster split the Minions into multiple groups long before they reunited, this creates a real contradiction with the timeline the first movie built. Number 3. 3 hidden details tucked into Despicable Me 3. First, while the Minions wander through the city, you can spot a movie poster for Sing in the background, another Illumination production sneaking into frame. A little later, when the Minions break out of prison, their homemade aircraft shares the exact same design as a toy plane Gru gives to Mel earlier in the film. But the funniest detail shows up at bedtime. When the Minions climb into their sleeping pods, one pod is shared by 2 of them, and one looks completely terrified while the other looks like he's having the time of his life. Number 4. Why is Bob the only Minion with absolutely no hair? Most Minions have some amount of hair, whether it's a single strand, 3 strands, or a small tuft, but Bob is completely bald. Plenty of fans assume it's simply tied to his intelligence, especially after his brief stint ruling Britain. But there's a much stranger fan theory floating around. It suggests Minion hair is actually connected to a curse tied to destroying their masters, with thicker hair meaning greater destructive potential. Under that theory, a hairless body would be an extremely rare, almost coveted trait. Some versions of this theory even go as far as claiming the original Bob didn't survive some ancient event, and that whoever carries the name today is something else entirely wearing his identity. It's a wild, almost horror movie spin on a background character, but it shows just how deep some fans have gone trying to explain one tiny design choice. If you're new to the deeper Minion lore, drop a comment with the number that surprised you most so far, because we've still got some genuinely wild theories left on this list. Number 5. The Minions aren't actually speaking gibberish, they're speaking a real constructed language. It's called Minionese, and it's built from pieces of English, Spanish, French, Italian, Hindi, Japanese, and several other real-world languages blended together. That mix is intentional. No matter where you're watching from, you're likely to recognize at least a few words. But the creators didn't stop there. For different international releases, the dialogue actually shifts slightly, weaving in extra native language phrases every few lines, so the language still feels familiar depending on where the movie is playing. It actually lines up with the lore too, since Minions have supposedly existed for millions of years across nearly every culture on Earth, constantly picking up new influences along the way. And here's the part that really surprises people. Despite there being thousands of individual Minions on screen across the franchise, it's a single voice actor performing essentially all of them. Number 6. Ranking some of the sharpest Easter eggs hidden inside Minions and Monsters. The film's central monster, Irene, takes clear inspiration from the classic creature feature, The Blob. There are 2 separate nods to Buster Keaton, one where the Minions ride the front of a moving train echoing General, and another with a house collapsing around a character, referencing Steamboat Bill Jr. The Minions' train journey to Los Angeles borrows heavily from the Great Train Robbery, and for most of that sequence, you genuinely can't tell if it's a real heist or a movie being filmed. There's also a pair of Orson Welles references. The Minions recreate the iconic Casablanca farewell scene, and later, a dying Minion drops a snow globe and utters a single word instead of Rosebud, directly spoofing Citizen Kane. Near the finale, a ship crashes into the Hollywood sign and knocks off part of it, leaving it reading just Hollywood, a fun nod to the fact that the sign really did say Hollywoodland until 1949. The character Dork is a direct homage to Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still, and one of the sharpest hidden gags happens when a director fires several minions one by one, addressing each by a name that happens to belong to a legendary real-world filmmaker. Most of those names were reportedly improvised on the spot by the actor voicing the role. There's also a quick elephant-filled Hollywood party scene that nods to Babylon, but the single best Easter egg is a cameo appearance from George Lucas himself, trapped inside a museum display case and voiced by Lucas in person. Number 7. How deeply this film commits to its old Hollywood setting. Once the story shifts to 1920s Los Angeles, the visual style leans hard into Art Deco design, giving the fictional studio a glamorous, larger-than-life feel straight out of Hollywood's golden age. Beyond the sets, the physical comedy throughout draws heavily from silent-era filmmaking legends like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Harold Lloyd, blending old-school slapstick with a distinctly Minion twist. The movie even opens with the Minions crashing into the earliest days of cinema itself, and several sequences are staged to feel like they were shot using techniques from that actual era, right down to showing glimpses of how films used to be made behind the scenes. Number 8. Small details tucked into the background that are easy to miss. In one scene, James builds a Lego version of his boss alongside a fellow Minion, a funny anachronism considering the film is set in ancient Greece, long before Lego ever existed. Gru obviously can't appear during the main story since the timeline takes place well before he's even born, but the end credits scene brings him in anyway, showing the Minions annoying him instead of serving him for once. A lot of fans were initially disappointed that the franchise's original core Minions were mostly absent given the time period, but the credits scene ultimately brings them back into the picture. We've got 2 theory-driven entries left, and honestly, they might change how you think about this franchise's entire timeline, so stick with me for these last 2. Number 9. What if the Minions were serving monsters long before they ever served humans? Their one unbreakable rule is simple: always follow the most powerful master available, and over millions of years that's included dinosaurs, pharaohs, Dracula, Napoleon, and eventually Gru. But if monsters ruled the earth before human civilization ever existed, wouldn't the Minions have naturally ended up serving them first? That could explain why Minions never seem genuinely afraid of giant creatures. They may have coexisted alongside monsters for millions of years before humans ever entered the picture. It could even explain fragments of their strange language, potentially absorbed from long-extinct civilizations and species nobody remembers today. It would also explain how effortlessly they adapt to nearly any environment, having apparently survived ice ages, volcanic eras, and countless world-altering events without ever going extinct. Under this theory, Gru isn't their first unusual master at all. He's simply the most recent name on a very, very long list. Number 10. What if the Minions already know exactly how human history is going to end? They've lived through dinosaurs, ice ages, ancient empires, world wars, and the rise of modern technology, and yet nothing ever seems to genuinely catch them off guard. They always seem to adapt just slightly before everyone else does. What if that's because they've already watched this exact pattern play out over and over for millions of years? Empires rise, powerful leaders eventually fall, and the Minions simply move on to whoever comes next. From their perspective, human civilization might just be one more chapter in a cycle they've already witnessed countless times before, which is exactly why nothing ever seems to rattle them. Under that theory, the biggest secret in this entire universe might not belong to Gru at all. It might belong to the Minions, who may already know exactly how this story ends. So, there you have it. 10 details and theories from the Minions universe that most fans never fully connected. Now, here's what I want to know. Do you think the Minions really have been secretly following monsters and ancient civilizations this whole time? Or is that theory way too out there? Tell me your take in the comments, and if you've spotted an Easter egg we didn't mention here, drop that too, because I read every single one of them. Like this video if any of these actually surprised you, subscribe for more hidden Minions lore, and I'll see you in the next one.